Hi, this is Tim from Garden Hands. It's been windy out today, so we thought we'd do something indoors. We're going to sharpen the chainsaw. Chainsaws are, to me it seems like they're kind of a cheap machine. You buy them for whatever you pay, if you buy a used one or a new one, and they do an awful lot of work. We use, at just about every week of the year, we're out cutting wood in the woods or on a fence line or wherever, down in the bunker to split wood. We use a chainsaw a lot. This saw here is about 5 years old, and we cut about 15 full cords of wood every year for the outdoor wood stove and the maple syrup shack, and we have a fireplace in the house, and we give away a little bit of wood too to some people that can use it. If this one was new, it's right around $400, and it's pretty easy to get them to last for 10 years if you take care of them, do your maintenance on them, which is what we're talking about today. So for $400 for 10 years of use, and if you take care of it, it'd last 15 pretty easy. It's a pretty cheap tool. And I know you're gonna put some chains in it, and bars, and a sprocket, and whatever else there is, but they do a lot of work for what you pay for them, I think. So for the tools that we use when we're doing this, if it's real dirty inside in your chain drive compartment where your sprocket is, I'll use a little bit of brake clean or a parts cleaner, whatever you use for that, and spray it a little bit and blow it out gently, kind of, and get that, all the built up used oil that's in there blown off. We use our Stihl sharpeners. There's a different size for each size of chain, and maybe that's a little bit of a downside of these, is you get them for $38.95 at your Stihl dealer, times 2 if you got 2 different size of chains, or 3. But they seem to last real good, and they take a standard file to replace your files when you do replace those. I wear a pair of safety glasses if I use our brake cleaner, or if I'm using the air gun to blow around. And we use our air gun for that. They make a tool to clean the bar, your guide or your rails that it runs in. I just use a nail that I flattened. I guess that's not quite right, but it works. Your chainsaw wrench, a pair of gloves, and a pair of cheaters. So when we sharpen our saw, this is how we do it. It doesn't mean it's right, but this is how we do it. It seems to work for us. We always take note of which way the bar was. Right now it's right side up. I would say you can read the letters. When we get done, we'll flip it over, or before we're done, we flip it over every time we sharpen. We probably sharpen every second, or at the most every third tank of gas. That works pretty good for us. A chain will usually last that long. I usually carry 2 other chains with me that I've already sharpened that are in a bag or a container. So if I do have one that goes bad early, if we hit something, we just switch it out quick. We don't sharpen chains out in the field anymore. We used to. It just seems like we can get so much of a better sharpen with a tool like this that we got from Stihl. These have worked real well for us. So I usually try to, when the saw is on the bench, I will take this cover off and take the air cleaner out. On this model, the air cleaner is right here. What I'll do, and I'll just do it a little bit for demonstration purposes, I'll clean around down on the flywheel real good with the air cleaner, and around the gas tank, around your gas tank and around your oil reservoir, I guess is the correct word. I'll clean around those real well, and then I'll just blow off gently around here, around this area. Then I'll take the air cleaner off, and I'll take this outside and clean it so that we don't blow all that dust and let it come back into the carburetor. And I'll put a rag over this when I do leave here. I'll make sure there's a rag over the carburetor. So I'm going to take this outside and blow that off real quick. We just use a regular wand on our air compressor. So we'd blow around that area about like that, not too much more. We don't want to get aggressive and blow a hole through the air cleaner and ruin that, and you maybe wouldn't see it and you'd wreck something further down the road. But clean around your gas and oil tank real good. These are just a quarter turn to put those on. They're pretty convenient that way. So I'll take the chain off. We've put our cover back on and our air cleaners back in and clean. Take our chain off. Most of the chainsaws are a single or a double, or single or two nuts on them that are easy to take off. Some of the newer saws have a single dial on them. I used one the other day of somebody's that you unlatch or you tip a latch over a little bit and there's a little toggle up on top and that turns to tighten it up and then you latch it back again, which is good, I guess. You don't need a wrench, so that's handy out in the woods. When I'm in the woods, I carry this wrench in a pocket. I guess in my chaps when I'm cutting, and I carry an extra nut in there too, just in case. So this will get cleaned out. When you take this off, I usually check for this wear plastic piece here. They just pop right out. They do fall off sometimes, but make sure it's there and make sure it isn't wore out. They're $1, $1.50 at your Stihl dealer. As is this safety catch down here. When your chain comes off, this one's chewed up and it's only been on for about a month, I think. When your chain will come off, and occasionally they do, it'll come and catch on that. It's a piece of aluminum. It's held on by one screw, I believe. So if that gets pretty well gone, the one I took off, well, it's not laying right here, but it was pretty well gone from being off a couple times. So try and replace those. So I'll loosen it up a little bit. Get the bar off from the chain. And I'll take your tool that you use to clean your bar guide. Another way that you can tell if you should have flipped, like your bar was on this way, your oil hole is going to be on the back side next to the saw. This one is clean, that means it's being used. If you tip it back over, the bottom one on the other side, that's right here, is dirty. So that meant that it was down here. It's on the return cycle of the chain, so it's dirty. It hasn't been used. This one on the other side is had oil forced through it, so it stays clean. It's just another way to tell that you could flip your bar over and figure out if you didn't look at where it was prior to taking it off. So we use this nail. They come with a tool that fits this, but I don't have mine right here. So I use a nail that's flattened out a little bit on the edge. And you go along and just get a little bit of the goop out of there. Turn it over and do the same thing. When you get back to where your oil hole is, it'll drag a little bit because there's a couple of divots in there that fit the saw to tighten it up for the tightener. And then make sure that that's cleaned out. So I use an air gun. The original Stihl bar that comes on this model, at least, doesn't have a grease hole right here, so you could grease that outer sprocket. I always liked greasing them, but they've done away with that, and when your bar is shot, they figure that that this bearing will go bad is about the time that your rails are getting wore down quite a bit anyway. So I guess that's their theory on that. So another thing we'll do probably, it depends on how much wood you cut. If we cut, say, that 15 full cords of wood, halfway through that, or maybe a third of the way through it, so 3 times a year, we'll run this on a belt sander, on a mounted belt sander. We'll run these rails and we've got a square and a piece of wood block down there that's square, so we can run it. If this was your sandpaper, we'd run it across there and it's all squared up, just to level these rails and make sure that they're nice and square. And we always look down it, not always, we usually look down it to make sure it's straight and it hasn't been bent. If you get a bar that's bent, they aren't that expensive. Get a new one so that it doesn't wear out your chain. It's easier and it's safer too. So this one's going to go back on. I'm going to clean up this cover just a little bit with some brake cleaner. When we're cleaning this off, I try not to spray direct into the port where the oil comes out for your chain oiler. I don't think you should do that, to spray direct into where the pump is down in there, or the gears. We check our tightener peg to make sure that that's in good shape, that it isn't worn or bent or broke or missing. I always look on this one has a snap ring here that holds a washer. If we're cleaning fence lines, or yeah, I guess that'd be most of it. If we're cleaning fence lines and you're down and there's weeds that are tougher and brush, occasionally we'll get some built up in behind this washer. So I'll take that snap ring off quick and clean behind that, and then pull the drive sprocket off and just check down in the clutch to make sure that's clean, and then blow that out at that time too. So we're ready to put our bar and chain back on to tighten, or to sharpen. When we are tightening our chain, we disengage our brake, so that's not engaged, it's not grabbing. This time I tried something different. We set a 2x4 right out under the nose on the bottom of it. That holds your bar up. Otherwise you have to hold your bar up while you're doing this. I'm just thinking that that'll hold the bar up. Generally it'll tighten up. When you tighten this nut, it'll draw it a little tighter yet. This is tighter than we run it, so I'm going to back it up a quarter turn and then bring it back to where we think we want it. You always want to try and pull up on it to get as much slack out of it as you're going to get, because when you're using this bar, the chain is going to want to pull the bar in. It isn't going to push that bar out and get tighter. It's going to try to loosen up, and as your chain wears, it also loosens up. The links wear a little bit. Your pins do. So now you can see we've got about 1/8 of an inch of slack on the bottom. We'll see what that looks like. And that's a little bit looser than what we like to have it, so we're going to tighten it again. So now you're down to probably well, it's less than a 1/16, probably a 32nd of an inch down there. That's pretty good. We can pull a little bit down the bottom, and as the chain warms up, it'll tighten up a little bit. But like I said, we always carry a wrench with us in the field and try and keep it tight, especially on fence lines. That's the worst. When you're laying your saw down on the side and cutting, That chain is so vulnerable to coming off because the chain can fall down then. When you're just blocking wood and cutting like this, you have a lot less trouble with it. We'll put in the vise now for filing. Try to get it as level as you can, like this, I guess I'd say. Obviously your vise should be level. I have to wear a little bit of reading glasses so I can see good enough. On this side there's a yellow link. That's where they spliced it. There's two cutters that are identical, or on the same side, on the right side I would say. That's where the splice is here. So I always start forwards or backwards from the splice. So these are designed to sharpen your cutter and bring the rakers down to the correct height while they're doing it. That's what makes them kind of unique. So I'll start behind my splice, and you can tell where you've been generally. So with this file, let me take my gloves off. With this file, these two, as I can see you there, these two lines are what we want to keep parallel with the bar when we start and when we finish our stroke. We want these to be parallel. We want this file to run level. If anything, I guess I try and run uphill just a little bit versus downhill. If you go downhill, you're going to file the bottom of your cutter and the back top side of it, and you're not going to touch the front tip of it. So we want to make a stroke with this that's nice and smooth. Stand so your feet are apart so you're not going to fall into this chain and slip and cut yourself. These will really do a number on you. And just a nice even stroke. You're not a grinder, you're just filing this. So I'm going to put my gloves on real quick. So as we made that, I can see that it's sharp out on the tip, out on the leading edge, right up on the top of the cutter. It's also taken just a small amount off the raker, and that 2 strokes was enough on that one. We want to go all the way around and make the same number of strokes, pretty close on each one. Otherwise, they're going to be cutting a little bit different. If you file this tooth a lot more than the next tooth on the same side, this one is going to be lower because as the tooth gets sharpened, you're sharpening and it's getting shorter. As this tooth goes back, it gets a little bit shorter. That's why you file your rakers also, because as the tooth gets shorter, you need to cut your rakers down or they're going to be almost riding on the wood and not letting your cutter get a hold to cut any off from that. So we want to try and keep each one about the same, and each side should be the same side to side, because if you notice, I already made 3 on those 2 and 2 on the first one. So do as I say, don't do as I do. You want to keep them the same side to side. If you get one side that's got taller teeth because they haven't been filed as much, you have a potential for that bar to start cutting in a semicircle. So that's kind of the gist of it. These files are so easy to use. You can get other brands of them too on Amazon or eBay, wherever you're at. It just so happens our Stihl dealer up in Woodville is real good, and he recommended these, and they've worked real well. And as you're going across, you can see where the file's making contact the whole way. If you're holding this parallel with the bar and you see that the file isn't making contact, that means you're going to need to come back. You've had some issues. You've caught something on the front and you need to fix it. This chain is in pretty decent shape. All the teeth are, I just filed it the other day, so I know that it's in good shape, and we're just doing a maintenance on it. So here you can see my yellow link. That's because this was a spliced one. Different bars, on other bars you may not have a spliced one where you have two cutters on the same side in a row. It might be a normal looking chain. Then you need to, we used to file a little groove on the back side of a tooth just to mark it so we knew where we were. So I'm gonna do this right hand side, and it's done the same way, only from the other side of the bar. So this chain is sharp. The only other thing is we've got two other saws, or maybe three of them, that do have a grease fitting out on the end. So to that I would say you probably have to clean the bar a little bit more if you do grease them. And when I do that, I'll clean the bar, put the chain back on, sharpen it, and then grease it when you're all done, so you're not messing around in that grease when you're sharpening it. That just kind of makes sense. Our other next saw we use as much as this one, I think, is this little hand-held one. I don't know what you call them. They're kind of a trimmer saw. Guys, this is not a commercial grade, I don't think. These are really handy. When I first bought it, it was on sale at the local dealership up here, and they had a good price on it, so I got it. Didn't think I'd use it that much, but it turns out this little bugger cuts wood. I mean, it has I think it's a 14-inch, 12 or 14-inch bar. We use this quite a bit. It is pretty handy. Sometimes you're a little bit closer to your work, but it's just the weight of it is kind of a plus. So anyway, that's what we do to sharpen and maintain our saws. We always make sure our gas is fresh. We use only premium gas. We always use Stihl, their premium oil in the engine. I don't know if it matters or not, but it works. And we use a good grade of chain lube on the chains. Other than that, we just go out and cut wood. But that's how we have fun around here too, I guess. That's what we do for maintenance on our saws. We appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for what we have next. You never know what we're going to be doing. We always try and make it fun. We do. We always do have fun. That's part of it. And we try to include the family as much as we can. So thanks again for watching. Hit our like button and subscribe. Thank you.